The Galactic Council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive station that orbited a dying world. Inside the Grand Hall, Ambassador Hyjin stood before hundreds of alien species. Her hands shook as she held the holographic display showing her people's colonies burning. Min watched from the human delegation section. He had been a diplomat at the council for 3 years now. He knew that look on Hyjin's face. It was pure desperation. "Please," Hyjin said, her voice breaking. "The raiders came 6 days ago. They destroyed our outer colonies. Thousands of my people are dead. Thousands more are trapped on the surface with no food or medical supplies." The council members shifted in their seats. Some looked uncomfortable, others looked away. "We understand your situation is difficult," the council speaker said. His voice was calm, almost cold. "But our peacekeeping forces are spread across 40 different systems. We simply do not have the ships available." Hyjin's face fell. "But my people are dying right now. Every hour we wait, more die." "We will send aid ships within 2 weeks," the speaker continued. "That is the best we can offer." 2 weeks, Hyjin's voice rose. "In 2 weeks there will be no one left to save." Min felt his chest tighten. He wanted to help, but Earth's diplomatic fleet was small. They had only 3 patrol ships in this sector. It would not be enough. Hyjin looked around the chamber. No one met her eyes. The other species had their own problems, their own worlds to protect. The council had rules, procedures, committees. Everything took time. Time her people did not have. Something changed in Hyjin's expression. Min recognized it. He had seen it before in desperate people. It was the look of someone about to make a very bad decision. Hyjin walked to the side of the council chamber. There, built into the ancient wall, was a device covered in dust. No one had touched it in thousands of years. Most species did not even know what it was anymore. "Ambassador Hyjin, what are you doing?" the speaker called out. Hyjin's hand hovered over the device. "This is an emergency beacon, yes. From the old days, it calls for help when the council cannot respond." The speaker stood up quickly. "That beacon is not for situations like this. It is for emergencies," Hyjin said firmly. She pressed her hand against the ancient metal. The device came to life. Lights ran across its surface in patterns that hurt to look at. A sound filled the chamber, deep and powerful. It made Min's bones vibrate. "No," the speaker shouted. "You do not understand what you have done." But it was too late. The beacon's signal went out across the galaxy, traveling faster than any ship could fly. It was a call that could not be stopped or taken back. Min's communication device began to beep. Then it started to ring. Then it began to scream with incoming messages. His face went pale as he read them. "Oh no," he whispered. Around the chamber, other diplomats were receiving messages too. The Velari looked confused. The Thros looked concerned. The Kelvin looked terrified. "What is happening?" Hyjin asked. "I called for help. Why does everyone look so frightened?" Min stood up and made his way through the crowd to reach her. "Ambassador Hyjin, what exactly did the beacon say to you before you activated it?" "It said it would summon the strongest military response available," Hyjin explained. "It said help would come immediately. That is what we need." "The strongest military response," Min repeated slowly. "Did it say anything else? Anything about what kind of situation it was designed for?" Hyjin shook her head. "No, it just said it was for emergencies when the council could not help. That is exactly our situation." Min pulled up his data pad and showed her the messages. That beacon was built over 10,000 years ago by a civilization that no longer exists. They built it for a very specific type of emergency. "What type?" Hyjin asked. "The end of everything," Min said quietly. "Species extinction, total war, the complete destruction of civilization. It was meant to call for help when entire star systems were being wiped out." Hai-Jin's face went white. But I just needed help with some raiders, a few ships to drive them away. The beacon does not know that, T-Min said. It only knows you activated it. And because of the protocols built into it, it automatically called the largest military force in the galaxy. Which is? T-Min took a deep breath. Humanity. As if to answer him, the lights in the chamber changed. Every viewing screen switched to show the same image. Space itself seemed to tear open as massive ships began to arrive. They were not peaceful vessels. They were not exploration ships. They were not even normal military craft. They were dreadnoughts. Each one was the size of a small moon. Their hulls were covered in weapons that could destroy planets. Behind them came carrier groups, each carrying thousands of fighter craft. Around them flew destroyer squadrons, their engines burning bright enough to light up the dark. And at the center of it all was the flagship, the HDSS Righteous Fury. It was so large it had its own gravity, so powerful it could wage war against entire civilizations alone. "How many ships is that?" Hai-Jin asked in a small voice. T-Min checked his messages. New numbers kept coming in. "The first wave is 300 vessels. More are coming. They are pulling ships from every human fleet in the galaxy." "For my raiders," Hai-Jin could barely speak. "The beacon told them that the galaxy was ending," T-Min said. "They think they are coming to save everyone. They think they are coming to fight the worst threat the universe has ever seen." The council chamber erupted into chaos. Species were shouting, arguing, demanding explanations. Some wanted to send the humans away. Others wanted to know why humans had such a massive fleet in the first place. But T-Min just watched the screens. He watched the human warships take up positions around the station. He watched Admiral Kyung-Soo's face appear on the communication channel, looking grim and ready for war. And he thought about what would happen when those ships, built for total war, arrived at a colony being raided by common pirates. "Ambassador Hai-Jin," T-Min said quietly, "you asked for help. I think you are about to get more than you ever imagined." On the screen, the Righteous Fury turned its massive bulk toward the dying colony world. Behind it, hundreds of warships formed into battle formations. The galaxy's deadliest fleet had arrived, and they thought they were saving the universe. Admiral Kyung-Soo stood on the bridge of the Righteous Fury and tried to understand what he was seeing. His officers moved quickly around him, checking weapons systems and scanning for threats. Every screen showed data about the surrounding space. Every sensor was pushed to maximum range, searching for the enemy. But there was no enemy, not the kind he expected anyway. "Status report," Kyung-Soo ordered. Captain Da-Yoon stepped forward. She looked eager, ready for combat. "All fleet elements have arrived, sir. 312 ships in the first wave. Second wave will arrive in 4 hours. We have enough firepower to crack a planet in half." "And the threat assessment?" Da-Yoon hesitated. "That is the strange part, sir. Our scanners are not picking up anything that matches the beacon's warning level." Kyung-Soo frowned. The ancient beacon had sent out a signal that meant only one thing: total extinction was coming. When Earth's military computers received that signal, they automatically deployed the Deep Space Fleet. Every warship within 6 jumps had been pulled from their stations and sent here. He had left Earth thinking he was coming to save the galaxy. "Maybe the enemy is using stealth technology," suggested Jai Woo, the intelligence officer. "Something our scanners cannot detect." "Run a full spectrum analysis," Kyung-Soo ordered. "I want to know about every ship, every signal, every piece of debris in this system. Something triggered that beacon." His communication panel beeped. "Admiral, we have a small transport requesting permission to dock. It is carrying a Velari ambassador and a human diplomat." "Let them board," Kyung-Soo said. "I want answers." 10 minutes later, Hai-Jin and T-Min stood on the bridge of the Righteous Fury. Hai-Jin's eyes were wide as she looked around. The bridge was larger than her entire ship. Weapons control stations stretched in rows. Tactical displays showed more firepower than most species had in their entire military. Admiral Kyung-soo, T-Min said, bowing slightly. I am T-Min from the Diplomatic Corps. This is Ambassador Haijin of the Velari people. Kyung-soo studied them both. Ambassador Haijin, you activated the ancient beacon. Yes, Haijin said quietly. I was desperate. My colonies are under attack. Under attack from what? Kyung-soo asked. Our scanners show no large enemy fleet. No weapons signatures that would threaten planetary populations. What exactly are we dealing with? Haijin pulled up a display. It showed several small ships attacking a colony world. They were firing crude weapons, burning buildings, stealing supplies. Raiders, she explained. They hit 3 of our outer colonies 6 days ago. They killed thousands of my people. They are holding more as hostages. They keep demanding supplies and threatening to kill more if we resist. The bridge went silent. Dayun leaned forward to look at the display. Those ships, those are the threat. They are unstoppable, Haijin said. Our colony defense forces could not stand against them. They are too fast, too well armed. We lost every ship we sent. Jai-woo brought up technical data on the raider ships. He studied it for a long moment. Then he looked at Kyung-soo with an expression of disbelief. Admiral, Jai-woo said carefully, these vessels are using technology from about 400 years ago. Their weapons are primitive ballistic cannons. Their shields are basic magnetic deflectors. Each ship has maybe 20 crew members. How many ships are there? Kyung-soo asked. 8 in total, sir. Dayun let out a breath. 8 ships. We brought 300 dreadnoughts to fight 8 pirate vessels. Haijin looked confused. I do not understand. These raiders destroyed our colonies. They have weapons we could not defeat. How can you call them primitive? T-Min spoke gently. Ambassador, your people are a peaceful species. You do not build weapons or study military technology. To you, any armed ship seems powerful. But they killed thousands. I know, T-Min said, and that is terrible, but to humanity these raiders are small, very small. Kyung-soo walked to the display showing the raider ships. He had spent 40 years in the military. He had commanded fleets through 3 wars. He had seen real threats, species-ending weapons, armadas that could burn star systems. These were not that. These were criminals with stolen ships and old guns. Admiral, Dayun said quietly, the beacon was supposed to activate for extinction-level events. Why did it respond to this? Because the beacon is ancient, Jai-woo explained. It was built by a species that considered any attack on their colonies to be a threat to their existence. The beacon does not understand the difference between a raiding party and an invasion fleet. It only knows that Velari people are dying and their government asked for help. Kyung-soo nodded slowly. He understood now. The beacon had done exactly what it was programmed to do. It had called for the strongest military force in the galaxy to respond to what it saw as a crisis. The problem was that humanity had become that force, and humanity's military was designed to fight wars that could destroy civilizations. So what do we do? Dayun asked. We cannot just leave. The beacon called us here. Those protocols are sacred. If we ignore them, what happens the next time there is a real emergency? We help, Kyung-soo said firmly. 8 raiders or 8,000, it does not matter. We were called to protect people. That is what we will do. Haijin looked relieved but also worried. You will help, even though this is not what you expected. Yes, Kyung-soo said. But Ambassador, I need you to understand something. We brought enough military power to wage war against entire empires. We brought weapons that can destroy planets. We trained for the worst scenario the galaxy could offer. And instead you found pirates, Haijin finished. Exactly, Kyung-soo said. Which means we need to be very, very careful. One mistake and we could cause more damage than those raiders ever could. Dayun pulled up tactical options. We could deploy a single destroyer squadron. That would be more than enough to handle 8 small vessels. No, Kyungsu said. Deploy fighter wings. Fast, precise, minimal firepower. I want those raiders captured, not destroyed. Captured? Dayun looked surprised. They are criminals, Kyungsu explained. Not soldiers. They should face trial, not execution. Besides, if we vaporize them with our main weapons, we will never know who they are or where they came from. Jaiwoo nodded. A wise decision, Admiral. Also, it will send a better message to the galaxy. If we respond to every problem with overwhelming force, other species will fear us. They already fear us, Dayun said, looking at Hai-Jin's nervous expression. Then let us show them they do not need to, Kyungsu said. He turned to his communication officer. Send word to all fleet elements. We are moving to assist the Velari colonies. Rules of engagement are strict. Capture enemy vessels intact. Minimize collateral damage. Protect civilian lives at all costs. The bridge crew began working immediately. Ships moved into position. Fighter squadrons prepared to launch. Medical vessels moved toward the colony world to begin rescue operations. Hai-Jin watched it all happen with wide eyes. This is just a small response, just fighters. Each fighter carries more computing power than your entire defense fleet, Jaiwoo said gently. And our pilots train against threats much worse than pirates. T-Min touched Hai-Jin's arm. You wanted help, Ambassador. Now you will see what humanity can do when they decide to protect someone. On the main screen, the colony world came into view. Smoke rose from burning cities. Raider ships circled like predators. They had no idea what was coming for them. They had no idea that they were no longer the hunters. Kyungsu watched as his fighter wings launched. Hundreds of small craft streaked toward the colony at impossible speeds. Behind them, the massive dreadnoughts waited in silence. The deadliest fleet in the galaxy had arrived to stop 8 pirates. It should have been funny, but Kyungsu knew that every life mattered. Whether the threat was small or large, people deserved protection. All units, he said into the communication channel, let us show the galaxy what humanity really stands for. Commander Sung-ho sat in the cockpit of his fighter and ran through the final checks. Around him, 200 other fighters did the same. They had launched from the carrier ships and were now approaching the colony world at high speed. Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader, Sung-ho said into his communication system. Remember the orders. We capture these raiders, we do not destroy them. Disable their engines and weapons only. Is that clear? Clear, Ghost Leader, his squadron responded. Sung-ho had flown combat missions for 12 years. He had fought against enemy fighters, bombed military targets, and protected human colonies from real threats. This should have been simple. 8 old raider ships against the most advanced fighter wings in the galaxy. But the Admiral was right to be careful. With this much firepower, they could easily turn a rescue mission into a disaster. Enemy vessels detected, his computer said. 8 ships in orbit around the 3rd planet. They are attacking the surface. Sung-ho could see them now on his scanner. The raiders were focused on the colony below. They had no idea the human fleet had arrived. They probably thought they were still the biggest threat in the system. All squadrons spread out, Sung-ho ordered. Surround them. Do not let any escape to jump space. The fighters moved like a school of fish, perfectly coordinated. Within seconds, they had the raiders surrounded. 200 advanced fighters against 8 pirate vessels. It was not even close to a fair fight. Then the raiders noticed them. Ghost Leader, we are receiving a communication from one of the raider ships, his computer said. They are demanding we leave or they will kill the hostages on the surface. Sung-ho smiled coldly. Tell them no. The raiders opened fire. Their old ballistic cannons tried to target the fighters, But the human craft were too fast, too agile. The shots missed by hundreds of meters. The raiders might as well have been throwing rocks. "Disable their weapons," Sung-Ho ordered. His fighters moved in. Precise laser fire cut into the raider ships, not into the hulls or crew areas, but into the weapon systems. Within 30 seconds, every raider ship was defenseless. Their guns were melted slag. Their missile tubes were sealed shut. "They are trying to run," one of his pilots called out. Two of the raider ships broke formation and tried to accelerate away. They were heading for the edge of the system, where they could jump to faster-than-light speed and escape. "Disable their engines," Sung-Ho said calmly. More laser fire. The raider engines exploded in small bursts. The ships drifted, powerless. Inside, the crews were probably panicking, wondering what kind of enemy could disable their ships so easily. "Ghost Leader, the remaining raiders are broadcasting on all frequencies," his computer said. "They are trying to surrender." "Tell them their surrender is accepted," Sung-Ho replied. "And tell them we are sending boarding teams." On the surface of the colony world, Commander Youngmi watched the sky. She commanded 300 Marines who had landed in drop ships. Their mission was to secure the ground and protect the civilians. "Ma'am, the fighters have disabled all enemy ships," her second-in-command reported. "No casualties on either side." Youngmi nodded. That was how it should be. Quick, clean, professional. "What about the hostages? The raiders said they had people trapped in the main city." "We are moving there now." Youngmi's Marines spread through the burning city. They moved carefully, checking every building. The Velari people hid in basements and shelters, terrified. When they saw the human soldiers, many thought they were more raiders. "Please do not hurt us," a Velari child cried. Youngmi knelt down and removed her helmet. She wanted them to see her face. "We are here to help. We are from Earth. We came because your ambassador called us." "Earth?" The child looked confused. "But Earth is so far away." "Not too far to help," Youngmi said gently. She pulled out a ration bar and offered it to the child. "Are you hungry?" The child took it carefully, still afraid. Youngmi understood. These people had seen so much violence. It would take time for them to trust anyone again. "Commander, we found the hostages," a Marine reported. 200 Velari locked in a warehouse near the spaceport. The raiders were using them as shields. Status of the raiders guarding them. "They surrendered when they saw us coming. I think our armor scared them." Youngmi almost smiled. Human marine armor was designed to fight in the worst conditions imaginable. To peaceful aliens, it probably looked like something from a nightmare. All black metal and weapons, sealed against vacuum and radiation. Each Marine could probably fight off 100 raiders alone. But they did not need to fight. The raiders took one look at them and gave up. "Medical teams moved to the warehouse," Youngmi ordered. "Start treating the hostages, and someone find the local Velari authorities. They need to take custody of these prisoners." Back in orbit aboard the Righteous Fury, Admiral Kyung-soo watched the operation unfold. Every screen showed perfect execution. The raiders were captured. The hostages were free. Not a single Velari civilian had been hurt in the rescue. Captain Da-yoon stood beside him. "That might be the most one-sided battle in human history," she said. "We brought 300 dreadnoughts to capture 8 pirates." "It was not about the fight," Kyung-soo said. "It was about the message." He was right. Already, word was spreading across the galaxy. Other species had sent observer ships to watch. They saw the massive human fleet arrive. They saw the overwhelming military power. And then they saw humanity use that power with perfect control. No planets cracked, no cities burned, no unnecessary deaths, just precise professional military action. Ambassador Haijin stood on the bridge, tears running down her face. "My people are safe," she whispered. "You actually saved them." "Of course we did," Kyung-soo said. "That is why we came." But I made such a terrible mistake, Hyjin said. I activated that beacon without understanding what it would do. I called your entire military here for such a small problem. You must think I am foolish. Kyung-soo shook his head. You were desperate. You saw your people dying and you did everything you could to save them. That is not foolish. That is brave. But the beacon was for extinction-level threats, Hyjin said, and I used it for pirates. The beacon was for emergencies, Kyung-soo corrected, and for your people this was an emergency. Yes, we brought more force than necessary, but that is our fault, not yours. Humanity built these ships. We created this fleet. We chose to respond with everything we had. Da-yoon pulled up new data. Admiral, we are receiving reports from across the galaxy. 17 different species have sent diplomatic requests. They all want to talk about Earth's military capabilities. They are scared, Jaiwoo added. They did not know humanity had this much power. Kyung-soo sighed. That was the problem with secrets. Eventually they came out, and when they did, they caused fear. Other species saw the human dreadnoughts and wondered if Earth was planning to conquer the galaxy. Send a message to all requesting species, Kyung-soo said. Tell them we will answer all questions. We have nothing to hide. Should we show them our full capabilities? Da-yoon asked. Yes, Kyung-soo said. Let them see everything. Our weapons, our ships, our training. Let them understand exactly what we can do. That will make them more afraid, Jaiwoo warned. Maybe at first, Kyung-soo agreed. But then they will realize something important. We had all this power and we used it to save 8,000 Velari people from a pirate raid. We did not conquer. We did not threaten. We did not demand payment or territory. We just helped, Hyjin said softly. Exactly, Kyung-soo said. And that is the real message. Humanity has incredible power, but we choose to use it to protect others, not dominate them. On the main screen, the medical ships began landing on the colony world. Human doctors and nurses poured out, carrying supplies and equipment. They moved through the injured Velari, treating everyone they could find. More ships arrived from Earth, carrying food, building materials, and power generators. Not military vessels, but relief ships. Within hours, the colonies would have everything they needed to rebuild. Sung-ho's fighters returned to their carriers, mission complete. Young Mi's Marines began helping the local Velari police process the captured raiders. The massive dreadnought stayed in orbit, watching over everything. Admiral Taemin said, "The Galactic Council wants to speak with you." Kyung-soo nodded. He had been expecting that. The Council would have questions. They would want to know why Earth had such a powerful military. They would want assurances that humanity was not a threat. Tell them I will answer all their questions, Kyung-soo said. But first, I want to make sure every Velari on these colonies is safe and fed. Because that was what really mattered, not the politics or the fear or the questions about military power. What mattered was that people who needed help had received it. The galaxy's deadliest fleet had arrived, and it had saved lives without firing a single killing shot. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber was full. Every species had sent their representatives. The viewing screens showed the human fleet still orbiting the Velari colonies. Those massive warships had not moved in 2 days. Taemin stood at the speaker's podium. He had prepared for this meeting carefully. Around him, hundreds of alien faces stared. Some looked curious, many looked afraid, a few looked angry. The council recognizes the human delegation, the speaker said. We have many questions about what we witnessed. I am here to answer them all, Taemin said calmly. Insu, the council's security director, stood up. He was a tall, thin alien with 4 arms and suspicious eyes. Let us start with the obvious question. Why does Earth have such a massive military fleet? And why did you hide it from the council? We did not hide it, Taemin said. We simply did not advertise it. There is a difference. You have over 300 dreadnought-class vessels, Insu said. Each one carries enough weapons to destroy a small civilization, and you say you were not hiding this. T-Min pulled up a holographic display. It showed Earth's military reports, all the documents they had filed with the Council over the years. Every ship is listed in our official records. Every weapon system is documented. Every training exercise is reported. All of this information has been available to the Council since we joined 30 years ago. But no one knew, another species representative called out. No one realized Earth had so much military power. Because no one looked, T-Min said simply. We filed our reports. We followed all regulations. It is not our fault that other species assumed humans were weak because we prefer diplomatic solutions. The chamber erupted into argument. Some species said T-Min was right. Others said Earth should have been more clear about their capabilities. Insu held up one of his hands for silence. Why do you have such weapons? Insu demanded. What purpose could they serve except conquest? Defense, T-Min said. Would you like to know why we built these ships? Before Insu could answer, the main screen changed. It showed Admiral Kyung-Soo sitting in a simple room aboard the Righteous Fury. He had asked to address the council directly. Honorable council members, Kyung-Soo began. I am Admiral Kyung-Soo of the Human Deep Space Fleet. I command the vessels you have been discussing, and I would like to explain why they exist. The chamber went quiet. Everyone wanted to hear this. 200 years ago, humanity almost died, Kyung-Soo said. His voice was calm but firm. We encountered a species called the Krell. They wanted our world. They did not ask. They did not negotiate. They simply attacked. A new image appeared on the screen. It showed human cities burning, orbital stations destroyed, millions of people dying. The council members shifted uncomfortably. This was history they had not known. We had no military then, Kyung-Soo continued. We were peaceful explorers, scientists, dreamers. We thought the galaxy would welcome us. Instead, we found predators. The Krell are extinct now, Insu said quietly. We know this story. They were destroyed by an unknown force. That force was us, Kyung-Soo said. After they killed millions of our people, after they destroyed half our colonies, humanity learned to fight. We built ships, we created weapons, and we drove the Krell back to their home world. And then you destroyed them, Insu said. It was not a question. No, Kyung-Soo said firmly. We offered them peace. We offered them a chance to surrender, to join the galactic community. They refused. They swore they would come back and finish what they started. The screen showed a battle, massive and terrible. Human ships and Krell vessels fighting to the death in the darkness of space. It was clear that humanity had been fighting for survival, not conquest. So yes, we destroyed them, Kyung-Soo said, because they gave us no choice. And when it was over, when we buried our dead and rebuilt our worlds, we made a promise. Never again would humanity be helpless. Never again would we watch our people die because we had no way to protect them. So you built a war fleet, Insu said. We built a defense fleet, Kyung-Soo corrected. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier exists for one purpose, to make sure no one can do to humanity what the Krell tried to do. A council member from a peaceful species raised a tentacle. But Admiral, why keep such a large force? The Krell are gone. The threat is over. Is it? Kyung-Soo asked. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are pirates, raiders, slavers, and worse. How many species in this chamber have lost colonies to attacks? How many have watched their people die because the council could not protect them fast enough? Silence. Many species looked down. They all knew the answer. The council's peacekeeping force was too small, spread too thin. When trouble came, help often arrived too late. That is why we maintain our fleet, Kyung-Soo said. Not to threaten anyone, but to be ready when needed. And now we have proven that. Ambassador Haijin activated an ancient beacon asking for help, and we came. We brought overwhelming force because we thought the situation was dire. When we learned the truth, we adjusted our response. We captured the raiders without killing them. We saved the hostages without collateral damage. We used our power to protect, not destroy. But you still have that power, Insu said. He looked around the chamber. How do we know you will not use it against us? How can we trust that Earth will not decide to become an empire? Min stepped forward again. Because we already chose not to. Think about what you saw. We arrived with 300 dreadnoughts. We could have demanded anything. We could have taken control of the Velari colonies. We could have threatened the council, demanded territory or resources or tribute. We had the power to do all of that. But you did not, a quiet voice said. It was Hai Jin. She had been sitting silently, but now she stood. You saved my people and asked for nothing in return. Exactly, Min said. That is who humanity is. Yes, we have terrible weapons. Yes, we have ships that can destroy worlds. But we chose to build them only for defense. We chose to use them only to protect others. That choice defines us. Kyung-soo spoke again from the screen. I have commanded military forces for 40 years. I have the authority to use weapons that could end civilizations. And do you know what I have learned in all that time? The real measure of power is not what you can destroy. It is what you choose to protect. He stood up in his simple room. Behind him, the symbols of Earth's military were visible. Flags, medals, commendations. The history of a species that had learned to fight only because they were forced to. We did not want to be warriors, Kyung-soo said. We wanted to be explorers, scientists, artists. But the galaxy taught us that peaceful species need to be able to defend themselves and others. So we learned. We built these ships. We trained these soldiers. Not because we love war, but because we love peace enough to fight for it. So what happens now? Insu asked. He still looked suspicious, but some of his anger had faded. Your fleet is still here. Your weapons are still active. What does Earth want from the Council? Nothing, Min said. We will leave when the Velari colonies are stable. We will return to our regular duties. And we will continue to file our reports with the Council, just as we always have. But, Kyung-soo added, if another beacon is activated, we will respond. If another species calls for help, we will come. That is our promise to the galaxy. Humanity will not be an empire, but we will be protectors for anyone who needs us. Hai Jin stood up fully now. I would like to speak, she said. The speaker nodded. The council recognizes Ambassador Hai Jin. I made a mistake, Hai Jin said. I activated that beacon without understanding what it would do. I thought I was calling for simple help. Instead, I summoned the most powerful military force in the galaxy. I was terrified when I saw those ships arrive. I thought perhaps I had made things worse. She looked at the screen showing Kyung-soo. But I was wrong. Yes, the humans brought overwhelming force. Yes, they have weapons that frighten me. But they used that force with perfect control. They saved my people without causing harm. They could have demanded payment or favors. Instead, they simply helped. Hai Jin turned to face the council. I propose that humanity become the council's emergency response force, not to replace our peacekeeping fleet, but to support it. When situations arise that our normal forces cannot handle, we should be able to call on Earth for help. That would give humanity too much power, Insu said, but his voice was less certain now. They already have that power, Hai Jin said. What I am proposing is that we acknowledge it and use it properly, with rules, oversight, and clear guidelines. Better to have Earth as an official ally than an unknown force. The council chamber filled with discussion. Species debated, argued, and considered. Min watched it all carefully. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. Finally, the speaker called for order. We will consider Ambassador Hai Jin's proposal, but first, we need assurances from Earth. Can you promise that your military will only act with council approval? Min and Kyung-soo exchanged glances across the transmission. They had discussed this possibility. "We can promise this," Min said, "except in cases where immediate action is needed to save lives. We will not wait for committee approvals while people die." "Fair enough," the speaker said. "Then we will form a working group to establish protocols." It was not a perfect solution, but it was a start, a way for the galaxy to accept humanity's strength without fearing it. 3 weeks had passed since the human fleet arrived at the Velari colonies. The burned cities were being rebuilt. Temporary housing had been set up for those who lost their homes. Medical teams had treated every injured person. The captured raiders were being held for trial. Bora stood on the surface of the main colony world, working alongside a team of Velari engineers. She was a young human technician, barely 25 years old. Her specialty was power systems, and the colony's main generator had been badly damaged in the attacks. "Hand me the plasma coupler," Bora said to a Velari worker named Talvin. Talvin passed her the tool carefully. He had been afraid of humans at first. Most Velari were. They had seen the massive warships in orbit and heard stories about humanity's military power. To them, humans seemed like monsters who could destroy anything. But Bora did not seem like a monster. She was friendly, patient, and worked harder than anyone else. She had been on the planet for 2 weeks, helping fix damaged systems and teaching the Velari how to repair them. "This generator is old," Bora said as she worked, "but it is well built. With some upgrades, it could last another 100 years. "Can you show me how to do the upgrades?" Talvin asked. "Of course," Bora said with a smile. "That is why I am here. We want you to be able to maintain your own systems after we leave." "You are leaving?" Talvin looked worried. "Eventually," Bora said. "The fleet will go home once everything is stable, but we will leave behind equipment and training. You will be fine." Talvin worked quietly for a moment. Then he asked, "Why do you help us? Your government sent warships, but you did not have to come down here and fix generators. You could have stayed on your ships." Bora sat back and looked at him. "Because that is what humans do. We fight when we must, but we prefer to build, to fix things, to help people." "But you have such powerful weapons," Talvin said. "The other species say you could conquer the galaxy if you wanted." "Probably," Bora agreed. "But why would we want to? Empires are too much work. We would have to manage trillions of people, deal with rebellions, maintain control. That sounds exhausting." Talvin laughed. It was the first time Bora had heard him laugh. "So you do not conquer because it is too much trouble?" "Partly," Bora said, "but mostly because we do not want to. Look, humanity learned something important 200 years ago. We learned that being powerful does not mean you have to hurt people. Real strength is using your power to protect others." In orbit above, Admiral Kyung-soo was having similar conversations. Over the past 3 weeks, representatives from 17 different species had visited the Righteous Fury. They came to see the human fleet up close, to understand what they were facing. Today's visitors were from the Kelvin Ascendancy, a species that had been part of the Council for thousands of years. Their representative, a dignified elder named Vestan, stood on the bridge and stared at the weapon systems displays. "This is incredible," Vestan said quietly, "and terrifying. One of your dreadnoughts has more firepower than our entire military." "Yes," Kyung-soo said honestly, "but that does not mean we will use it against you." "How can we be sure?" Vestan asked. "Your species appeared in the galaxy only 30 years ago. We know almost nothing about you, and now we discover you have been building a war fleet this entire time." Captain Da-yoon stood nearby. She had been listening to these concerns for weeks. "May I show you something?" she asked Vestan. "Of course." Da-yoon pulled up personnel records. "These are the soldiers serving in the human fleet, 200,000 men and women. Would you like to see what they do when they are not fighting?" The displays showed images: human soldiers teaching alien children, engineers building hospitals on remote worlds, medical staff treating diseases in poor colonies, scientists sharing research freely with other species. Every person in this fleet has a specialty, Da-Yun explained. Yes, they are trained for combat, but they are also trained to help. Our medical officers are doctors, our engineers are builders, our soldiers are teachers. When we deploy, we bring both weapons and aid. Why? Vestian asked. Because a military that only knows how to destroy is dangerous, Kyung-Su said. We teach our people to protect and to build. That way, they understand what they are defending. Vestan studied the images carefully. You really mean this, do not you? This is not propaganda or deception. You genuinely see your military as a force for protection. Yes, Kyung-Su said. That is exactly what we are. Down in the council chambers, T-Min was finalizing the new emergency response protocols. Ambassador Hai-Jin worked with him, along with Insu and several other council members. So we agree, Insu said, reading the document. If the council determines that an emergency requires immediate military response, Earth may deploy forces, but the council maintains oversight and can order withdrawal at any time. Correct, T-Min said, and Earth agrees to submit regular reports on all military activities, full transparency. What about situations where Earth thinks immediate action is necessary but the Council disagrees? Another Council member asked. Then we talk about it, T-Min said. We are not looking for permission to do whatever we want. We are looking for a way to work together. Hai-Jin added, the key is trust. Earth has shown they will respond to help requests appropriately. The Velari situation could have ended badly. Instead, it ended with minimal casualties and my people safe. That proves Earth can be trusted. Insu nodded slowly. He had spent weeks investigating human military records, questioning their officers, studying their history. What he found surprised him. Earth's military was powerful, yes, but it was also disciplined, careful, and focused on defense. I will recommend approval of these protocols, Insu said. But I will also recommend that the Council establish a monitoring system. We should have observers assigned to Earth's military to ensure compliance. We welcome that, T-Min said. Transparency builds trust. Back on the colony world, the day was ending. Bora and Talvin had finished repairing the generator. Power flowed through the colony again. Lights came on. Climate systems activated. People cheered as their homes became livable again. You did it, Talvin said excitedly. The generator works perfectly. We did it, Bora corrected. You helped, and now you know how to maintain it. A group of Velari children ran up to them. They had been watching the humans work all day. One small child, the same one Commander Youngmi had given food to weeks ago, tugged on Bora's sleeve. Are you really leaving? The child asked. Yes, Bora said gently. But not yet, we still have more work to do. Will you come back if we need help again? Bora knelt down to be at the child's level. If you need help, all you have to do is ask. Earth will always answer. The child smiled and ran back to play with the others. Talvin watched them go. They are not afraid of you anymore, he said. At first, everyone was terrified of the humans, but now the children wave at your soldiers. The elders ask your engineers for advice. You won. Won what? Bora asked. Their trust, Talvin said, which is harder than winning a battle. Up on the Righteous Fury, Kyung-Su received word that the Council had approved the new protocols. Earth was now officially designated as the Council's emergency response force. It came with responsibilities, oversight, and expectations, but it also came with acceptance. Send word to all fleet elements, Kyung-Su ordered. We will begin returning to our regular stations. Leave the medical ship Mercy and one destroyer squadron here until the colonies are fully rebuilt. Yes, sir, Da-Yun said. Then she asked, "Do you think this will work? Can Earth really be part of the Council this way?" "We will see," Kyung-Soo said. "We showed them who we are. We showed them we can be trusted with power. Now we have to keep proving it every day." The massive human warships began to depart. One by one, they jumped to faster-than-light speed and headed home. The Velari people gathered to watch them go. Many waved. Some cried. They had been saved by the deadliest fleet in the galaxy, and they would never forget it. Ambassador Haijin stood on her ship, watching the dreadnoughts disappear. T-Min stood beside her. "I made a mistake," Haijin said quietly, "but somehow it turned into something good." "You did not make a mistake," T-Min said. "You saved your people. Yes, you activated a beacon you did not fully understand. Yes, you summoned more force than necessary. But you acted with courage when everyone else was too afraid or too slow." "What will happen now?" Haijin asked. "Now the galaxy knows the truth about humanity," T-Min said. "We are powerful. We have weapons that could destroy civilizations. But we choose to be protectors instead of conquerors. That is our strength." Haijin smiled. "And if another emergency happens, if someone else activates a beacon or calls for help, then Earth will respond," T-Min said, "just like we always will." The last human dreadnought jumped to light speed, leaving only the medical ship behind. On the colony's surface, Bora continued teaching the Velari engineers. In the council chambers, the new protocols were being filed. And across the galaxy, other species began to understand something important. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy as explorers and dreamers. They had been forced to become warriors. But they never forgot what they really were: protectors, builders, and friends to anyone who needed help. The ancient beacon sat in a museum now, surrounded by displays explaining what had happened. The label read, "The beacon that changed everything," a desperate call for help that revealed humanity's true nature. And if anyone ever needed proof that humanity could be trusted with power, they only had to remember the Velari colonies, where the deadliest warships in the galaxy arrived expecting total war, and instead chose to gently save 8,000 people from 8 small pirates. That was humanity. That was Earth, powerful enough to end worlds, wise enough to protect them instead.